All right, so the next part of the lesson, we're going to practice writing equations from given information in the indicated form. So here I'm looking at one, we have a point and we have a slope. So that means that I can put this information into point slope form, which is the form that it's asking for. So this one's really easy. So now we just have to remember what that form is. So point slope form is when we have y minus y1 equals slope times x minus x1. So that's our point slope form. So again, we're substituting into the y1, the x1, and the m. Okay, so here we have our m. The 3 is the x1, 2 is y1. So now again, we're just going to substitute. So we have y minus 2 equals 1/7 times the quantity of x minus 3. So this is our point slope form. That's the form that it's asking for in the directions. So we're done. All right, the next one, if we look at it, again, we have a slope and b. So this is a y-intercept. Okay, so we have a slope and a y-intercept. So that means to start with, we're going to go to slope-intercept form because we have a slope and we have an intercept. Okay, so we're going to start in slope-intercept. So that looks like y equals mx plus b. Okay, so we're just going to substitute that information into that. So we would have y equals 2/3 x plus 3. But we have to be careful because our question is asking for standard form. So if we're writing something in standard form, it has to look like, all right, switch here, so switch to standard. So again, standard form has to look like ax plus by equals c. So x and y have to be on the same side. So we're going to start by subtracting x over, so that x and y are on the same side. So that will give us negative 2/3 x plus y equals 3. Okay. Now we're not allowed to have fractions, so our next step is to get rid of the fraction. So we're going to do this by multiplying by the denominator. So we're going to multiply everything by 3. So we're going to distribute that into everything. So 3 times negative 2 is negative 6, divided by 3 is negative 2, so negative 2x. 3 times y is 3y. 3 times 3 is 9. Okay. And our last step for standard form, remember, x has to be positive. So here this is a negative. So to make it positive, we're just going to go through and multiply everything by a negative 1. So 2x minus 3y equals negative 9. So this will be our final answer in standard form. Okay. So it's important to keep in mind the form that it's asking for won't always be the form that you started. You have to look at the information that you're given. All right, so our next example, okay, slope-intercept form. So that's y equals mx plus b. But I'm looking at my information. So I'm looking at 2 points. So before we can do anything else, we have to find a slope. So to find slope, we use our slope formula. So again, this will be x1, y1, x2, y2. So we're going to take 10 minus a negative 6, so plus 6, divided by negative 4 minus 0, and then simplify. So 16 over negative 4, so that means m will be negative 4. So that's our slope. So now when we look at information, we have a slope and we have a point. So we have to start in point slope. Okay, so if we're going to start in point slope, that's the y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So now we're just going to substitute. And it doesn't matter which point you pick, but I'm going to pick the one with 0 because 0 is a really easy number to work with. So now we're just substituting. So y minus a negative 6, so that becomes a plus 6, equals the slope of negative 4 times the quantity of x minus 0. Now again, we have to make sure that we are looking at our directions. We need it in slope-intercept form. Okay, so it has to look like this when we're done. So that means that I need to get y by itself. So first thing we need to do is distribute. So y plus 6 equals negative 4x. And then negative 4 times 0 is 0, so we don't write that. And then to get y by itself, we have to subtract 6 to both sides. So y equals negative 4x minus 6. And this would be our final answer in slope-intercept form. All right, our next set. Again, we have 2 points. So first thing we do if we have 2 points, we find the slope. So here's our x1, y1, x2, y2. So using slope formula. So 2 minus the negative 1. So it becomes 2 plus 1 since we're subtracting that negative. 5 minus 3. And we simplify. So this will be 3 over 2. So that's our slope. So now when I'm looking, we have a slope, we have a point. So we have to start in point slope. Okay, so again, point slope is the y minus y1 equals the slope times x minus x1. So if we start there, we're just substituting. It does not matter what point we pick, so I'm just going to use the first one. So y minus a negative 1, so that'll be plus 1, equals our slope of 3/2 times the quantity of x minus 3. And then if we look at our directions, the directions are asking for point slope. So that means that we don't have to do anything to change this. So for this one, there's actually 2 correct answers. We could have also used the second point. So if we use that, we would have y minus 2 equals the slope, and then x minus 5. So either one of those answers would be correct. And if we simplify this to be in point slope or standard, we would see the exact same equation. Okay. All right, another example. So again, starting with 2 points, before we do anything, we find the slope. So to find the slope, we have to use our slope formula. So m equals negative 3 minus 7 divided by 3 minus the negative 2, so it becomes a plus. Simplify. So negative 10 over 5 reduces to negative 2. So there's our slope. So again, when we're looking, we have a slope and we have a point. So we have to start in point slope. And point slope is the y minus y1 equals slope times x minus x1. So it doesn't matter which point we pick, so I'm just going to pick this first one. So again, we're going to replace the y1, the x1, and the m for slope. So y minus 7 equals negative 2 times x, and it's going to be minus 2, so we write that as a plus 2. Now we want it in standard form, so standard form, if we remember, so standard is the ax plus by equals c, so that's what we have to make our equation look like. So to start, we need to distribute. So y minus 7 equals negative 2x, negative 2 times 2 is negative 4. And we want x and y to be on the same side, so I'm going to add the 2x, and at the same time I'm going to add the 7. So now we have 2x plus y equals 3. So when I look at this, x and y are on the same side. We have all positive whole numbers, and x is positive. So this is how we know that we're done. So final answer in standard form. All right, our next example. So again, we're writing an equation. So we want it in slope-intercept. So remember, slope-intercept is y equals mx plus b. And when we look at our information, we have a point and we have a slope. So that means that we have to start in point slope. So that's the y minus y1 equals slope times x minus x1. So this is the x1, y1. So we're just substituting in for the y1, the m, and the x1. So y minus 4 equals negative 1/2 times the quantity of x minus a negative 1. So we're going to write it as a plus 1. And then slope-intercept form, so now we need to make it look like this. So we're solving for y. So we're going to start by distributing. So y minus 4 equals negative 1/2 x minus 1/2. Okay, the next thing we have to do is get y by itself, so this means that we're going to add 4 to this side. So here we're going to end up combining fractions. So that means that we want to put 4 over 1, and then our common denominator between these two is a 2, so we're going to multiply top and bottom by 2. So y equals negative 1/2 x, and then it's a minus 1/2, and then if we multiply that, it'll be a plus 8/2. So now we're combining the numerators. So y equals negative 1/2 x, and then negative 1 plus 8 is 7, so plus 7/2. And it's okay to have fractions in slope-intercept form. So this will be our final answer for that.